Good evening, ladies and gents, wherever you may be around the world, and welcome to Splendid Isolation number 186. Excuse me while I do my boomer tech stuff. Eventually, that is. Yeah, okay. Well, hang on. Well, I don't know. Well, we know what we should be. Sorry, folks. I've been battling my computer for the last 30 minutes, and I don't think I'm winning at the moment. But we shall see.
Hey, I'm free.
Why is that not working? Good evening, Armin. Can you hear me, mate?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me okay?
Good. Sorry, I've been battling this potato of a computer for the last half an hour, which is why we are slightly late. And I'm looking on my YouTube screen, and it's saying they're still waiting for me to start. So I don't know. Here we go.
Yeah, you're live.
Good. Sorry, I just need to mute the sound on it because otherwise it doubles all the time.
Yeah.
All right, there we go. That should be fine. Sorry about that. All right, guys. Sorry about the boomer tech at the beginning, but it wouldn't be a Iron Duke stream if there was no boomer tech in it, would it? Really? How are you going, Atman, this week?
Yeah, good. Yourself?
Yeah, not too bad. I've been a bit depressed the last couple of days, to be honest with you. Yeah, it's like I was saying on the Discord earlier. It's like everything I love in the world is burning, as far as I can work out at the moment. That's the way it feels, certainly. So, yeah. What do you think about all these guys that two-tier care is sending to prison?
It's a weird episode, isn't it? It's a very weird goings on. Like, are they not getting very good? Are they not getting very good counselling, or what's going on?
Yeah, I'm guessing that because all of them seem to have pleaded guilty, which is strange to me. I mean, I'm guessing that the duty solicitor at the police station, who is generally not a very good solicitor, is just saying to them, "Oh, if you don't plead, you're in prison," which of course is illegal, basically.
Well, I think they're being told that they'll have to basically sit in jail for a very long time if they attempt to plead not guilty. And they'll essentially end up being in prison for longer. And of course, they'll go harder on them with the sentences, which is ridiculous because I've seen lots of people trying to defend this, and they've constantly wheeled out the same thing, which is to say, well, they are getting shorter sentences. But if you read the articles, often in the judges' comments, they're saying stuff like, "We're giving you a longer than normal sentence, longer than the maximum in the guidelines by the Sentencing Council."
They're getting longer. Some of these people, for like waving a Union Jack, for example, are getting 2 years in jail, and that is longer than some immigrant rapists, etc., are getting.
Yeah, I mean, this is a funny thing, though, right? Is because a lot of these people that they're imprisoning have done more than what a lot of the articles are saying. They have often thrown things at the police and engaged in some sort of, and often the sentencing they're getting is still heavy for that. But of course, it's kind of a funny thing because it's like they're proving, the elite's kind of proving that they're still as cowardly as they've always been, because they're not actually willing to actually engage in any sort of substantial lawfare changes. So instead, they're kind of doing it within the bounds of existing law, whilst using the press to try and imply that they have expanded their reach. It's kind of weird. The press are doing a pretty good job as it is of making people essentially afraid to speak by claiming that an enormous amount of these people that have been imprisoned have just been imprisoned for things they've said, or harmless examples of expression. Some of them are like have previous for like violent crimes or drug trafficking and stuff like that. So it's kind of you've got this sort of bizarre thing where actually, like in a lot of ways, we saw enormous amounts of state incompetence, but within some parts of the regime, they're actually still showing a lot of competence. They're not having to cross the Rubicon. They're actually they're not having to use any sort of serious amount of force that would cause them any actual issues, and they're able to.
I think we need like one or two of these people to be backed by people like the Free Speech Union, etc. And get a good solicitor and a good barrister and actually go to court. Because I think if that happened, the government would find it much more difficult.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, one of the things that might be that we might want to see is is how the compensation plays out. I forget the section that the police wheel out a lot. Is it section 29 or something, where they book people, but the police don't have the power to book them under that section? So they essentially do it as a form of like humiliation, but the person ends up getting let out later, and sometimes even sues the police and often win compensation. The police end up paying out enormous amounts over the years for these sorts of menial displays of like of a police state that doesn't actually exist. You
probably saw on Twitter, Adam, the lady who was tooting a little penny trumpet, and the police arrested her.
Oh my God!
Yeah,
for tooting a little penny trumpet, they arrested her. I mean, it's just fucking ridiculous.
They had the old granny on the mobility scooter that they like knocked to the floor.
Oh yeah,
they
knocked her over.
Line.
Yeah, the cops knocked her over.
Yeah,
they she was in one of those little disability scooters that they give people who are like really disabled.
Yeah,
and she was probably about 70, and 3 cops knocked her over on her side. British police.
Were they going after someone like that had just like?
No. They were just going after this poor old lady.
Yeah, they had a police line, and she essentially tried to run the police line in a mobility scooter. And any sensible police officer would just let her go, would just laugh.
Yeah, you would have just moved away. Exactly. You would have said, okay, because I don't want to look like I'm an asshole who beats up disabled old ladies,
But
in my mind. In my mind, I saw the clip, Atom, and in my mind, she's reciting Third and King on the Pelennor Fields,
Right to
Yeah, she's one of the Rohirrim or whatever they call them, the cavalry guys from Tolkien.
Yeah. The Horde of Helmheim shall sound in Southport one last time.
I just sit there and I watch that absolute arsehole Starmer, 2-tier care. I watch him saying how Britain will stand by Ukraine. We won't stand by Anglo-Celtic people in Britain, though, will we, mate? Not a chance.
Well, the thing is as well, like, they still keep putting up this line where they try to basically say 2-tier policing doesn't exist, and it's like, it's such an obtuse lie, because you can literally look at like public police communications Even times when police chief inspectors have commented on, and they've talked about, like, the need to not inflame like community sensibilities in this particular community or that particular ethnic enclave. Like they've admitted this themselves, and the moment you point it out, they sort of reel back and cry out in pain.
But it's like you will have seen also on Twitter, guys and lady, the English dude who was walking along with his woman and his little child in a pushchair, who was stabbed in the neck by a brown or black immigrant of some description.
That was brutal. That was horrific.
Yeah, the update from that is apparently 4 urban youths have been arrested for attempted murder. But if I'm absolutely honest, at the same time, what sort of let's be honest, what sort of sentence are they going to get?
I bet they don't get 2 years, like that 18-year-old British dude did, who was waving a Union Jack. I bet they don't get 2 years.
Attempted murder get at least 15 to 20 here. Yeah. But they won't for this kind of situation.
Well, no, I mean, normally speaking, on the sentencing guidelines, if you're found guilty on attempted murder, that the maximum tariff is life. But the problem is, given our law, it's really difficult to prove attempted murder, because you have to prove intent, planning, all the sort of bits that come with it. And so they'll probably be done on a lesser charge, which would be grievous bodily harm with intent.
But stabbing someone in the neck with
someone in the neck is attempted murder. Intent. I'm afraid it is.
Intent takes 1 second to form. At least over here, I don't know how it is with you guys, but
I mean, it was all.
I mean to do bodily harm, great bodily harm.
Yeah, I think because I watched a video. Apparently, the guy's still alive. When I saw it, I thought it hit his jugular. I mean, when you get stabbed in the jugular, or you,
you're dead. You're dead.
Because
you're going to bleed out.
If you actually look at, I mean, I've talked to my child before. If you look at old manuscripts of, I've got one of the fighting style of the Teutonic Knights, how they would train their warriors. And you could always see that the motions that they used in the sword fighting was always aimed at the weakest point, mainly the neck and the jugular. Because if you could nip that, as Iron Duke said, you would die. But you just bleed out. I mean, if you see the video, if people want to watch it, it's unpleasant, but you see how much blood comes from it, and they didn't even hit the jugular. But the amount of blood that came out was obscene. It was.
He was pissing blood all over the floor.
Let's be clear about this. This was a man walking along with his woman and a little child in a pushchair.
So were they saying that they were trying to rob these people, or
I have no idea what caused it.
Over here,
I have no idea what caused it. I don't think anyone knows.
Well, over here, if you are in the process of committing one felony, which would be attempted, if they were trying to rob them or whatever, then you harm them greatly or kill somebody. I mean, that amps it up to a whole different charge. But
I mean, look, basically, if you stab someone in the neck, as far as I'm concerned, you should get done for attempted murder. You should, because
in a normal rational. Sorry. in a normal rational way, because it's quite. If you're going to stab someone in the neck, I mean, what are you trying to do? You're trying to kill them. I mean, that's right. I mean, it's obvious, and also this was filmed, so I don't know why
there's plenty of evidence.
Right.
I don't know why they arrested 4 people though, because I only saw 2 people who were sort of egging it on. I don't know what the other 2.
Who knows?
Maybe they helped him dispose of the weapon. I don't know. Who knows? But
so again here,
but he wasn't. All I can say is the bloke doing the stabbing was not an Anglo-Celt, shall we say?
So if you have like a car with 4 people in it and they are going to rob a gas station or something, and the person that's just driving the car, at least here, they will get the exact same charges as the person that goes in there with the knife.
Yeah.
So,
For sure.
you know,
For sure.
if they can prove that, I mean, it's pretty easy to slap those charges against the whole group.
For sure. Oh, by the way, guys in the chat, yes, I did send Mitch an invite to the stream. I always send Mitch an invite to the stream, but I think he might be on holiday actually, but I'm not sure. But anyway, yeah. So I don't know. I mean, Britain is in an appalling state at the moment under 2-tier care and the Labour Party. I just don't know. I don't know what you can say about it. I mean, one of the little girls who was murdered in Southport was buried yesterday, and you know, one of the 3 tiny little girls who were like basically hardly more than toddlers who were murdered. But no one cares about them, of course. You know, all anyone cares about is the people protesting against them being murdered by an immigrant.
What does that do to a person to take their little girl to a birthday party where they're in little leotards to dance with their friends? You know,
yeah,
birthday party, and your child is gone. What does that do to you? I can't even imagine.
That's why people got so angry. Mm-hmm. Because these 3 little girls were at some silly bloody dance party thing, you know? And you can't even let your little girl go to that sort of thing anymore in modern Britain.
Did anyone see one of the police commissioners, or not police commissioners, one of the, I think it was a superintendent, it was a lady superintendent giving a talk at, I think it was the funeral to BB King, which was one of the other girls that was that was killed, and she stepped up and gave this talk where she basically banged on about the rioting. And I thought this is I mean, I'm surely I'm not the only one that thinks this is massively inappropriate.
Time and place. I mean,
yeah.
I mean that's really fucked up. That's hijacking a funeral.
If I'd have been there and I'd have been one of those parents, I would have told her to F off. I would have said, go now.
Well, actually, it's the job of the vicar present to say to her, this is not an appropriate speech to make at all in this thing, and you know, either refrain or kick her out and kick the media out as well.
Anytime there's a school shooting over here, the vipers on the left, the politicians, they just flock to start preaching gun laws. And it's just so disgusting. They don't even
tell me, Aubrey Alley. There was I didn't see a great deal of people on the left in America talking about gun laws after they tried to assassinate Trump.
Oh no!
Didn't see many people say anything about that. It's funny, that isn't
it? It's very funny. Yeah. No mention.
It's quite strange. It's almost like we live in a society where there are 2 different sets of rules for people. You know?
There was an article by what's his name, Roarig Nationalist. I forget which outlet it was for. He covered the American institution that did this, but we actually have a division of the police here in Britain that does the same job, where they essentially approach grieving families in the aftermath of killings, specifically racial killings, and they sort of, I suppose, prey on their grieving to sort of push to get the family to sort of fall on board with a certain narrative. So
yeah, they try and get them to support "Don't Look Back in Anger," you know, all that sort of bullshit.
Yeah, except if it goes the other way, then they actually push the racial angle.
Well, that's why you'll see that George Floyd, Michael Brown, their families, you'll see Benjamin Crump, who is just this disgusting, attorney. And he's just all of a sudden representing all of these families. And you wonder, how did that happen?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was on AA's channel. He had a guest on who they talked about nudge units,
Yep.
particularly the 77th Brigade and others that have worked on this, where it's about controlling public emotion. So the events like the rioting we saw, it doesn't happen, and I think one analysis, and I think Morgoth talked about it, basically that whatever happened, they weren't prepared for. They didn't get a plan in place, and hence why all of this happened as it did. And the thing is, one, if I look at the events that took place, I think what was the most mental was you had this effectively this psyop created in Cobra meeting, where they said there was like this 100 different far right protests across the country, which never happened.
Yeah, it was totally made up. It's totally
the radical left went on the street to have as what I can only define as like some sort of mass cathartic event, because they lost control of narrative briefly for a few days. And then you had all the papers, literally every single paper, every
same
newspaper,
headline.
every
Exactly
journal.
the same headline.
Yeah, exactly the same thing. And what is crazy about that is, we talk about political kayfabe, and there is a utilitarian, the thing for kayfabe, for regimes to have kayfabe, so people to buy into the system. And not only did they not break it, Iron Duke and Atman, they broke it, they bent it over a barrel, and then they buried it at sea. I mean, it's insane. It's absolutely insane what they did, because they basically
for anyone who's not British, Britain has long had a thing called a D notice, which the government can give to newspapers, which basically means a newspaper they are not allowed to cover something, right? And given that a D notice has been a thing in Britain for many, many decades now, they can absolutely also say to newspaper editors, yeah, we want you all to do this story, which is exactly what Starmer did, of course. I mean,
yes,
there ain't no other way every newspaper comes out with the same story,
Yeah, I mean, it was the Mail, it was the Express, all these people who are supposedly patriotic, newspapers on our side. All of them became, for a day, became the biggest supporters for fanatical socialist workers and black nationalist movements in the country.
AI, there is no such thing as a pro-British newspaper nowadays. I don't know of one.
I will point out that that the Daily Mail, at the very least, I think the Sun as well, have continued this line since that point.
Yep.
They basically keep going on about the monsters that have been imprisoned from these riots. But of course, the funny thing is when they talk about
Celtic guys who were just upset about three little tiny white girls being killed.
This is the thing. This is the thing is that of course when they talk about like busing, the forced busing of the right for a change, they have to actually it's like a cope on their part, because if you look at like Walthamstow, when they talk about the counter protest, all the pictures are from the same one, which is Walthamstow. They had 72 hours to put together a crowd.
Yeah.
And basically that was the best they could do. If you look at some of the others, like photos from the South End, stand up against racism, it's like a dozen boomers on a street corner.
Yeah.
And who get chased out by locals.
Yeah. Well. And some of those crowds that were in, I don't know if they were in Walthamstow, but they were operating in the UK around the same organizations at the same time. They'd literally not even bust. They'd flown in communists from Germany and as far as Turkey to make up the numbers.
Oh, look, Adam, just for people in the chat who are not British, 77th Brigade, by the way, are a typical British modern military supposed unit. They're shiny asses who are not real soldiers at all, who sit on computers and pretend to be what they're not, and to try and guide public opinion in favor of the government. They're scum. In other words, they're very much the same as like in America. It's the sort of thing the CIA or the FBI would do. They're scum. They're not real soldiers at all. They're what we used to call shiny asses, because they sit so often rather than doing any actual soldiering. You know, scum. In other words.
Yeah, and it's like, well, yeah, that's a good roundup of who they are. But you know, and it's like when they talk about like the busing in thing, that's, I mean, obviously it's projection, but it is also massive cope, because like you can look, I mean, I did, because I've had like leftists trying to claim to me that like half of the people at these protests were from like outside of the area.
Yeah.
And I think the Liverpool
Not
Echo
true.
put together, I'm about to point this out. I think the Liverpool Echo put together a list of like everyone that's been jailed from the Southport protests so far. And I had a look through the list, and I went through like the first 50 names, and I only found 2 that were from outside the area. And they were one was from Colne and the other one was from Chester. And it's like, those are an hour away.
Yeah.
Now, there are places in my county that are an hour away. I'd still call them my area of
Yeah,
England.
of course. Of course.
So, but that was literally like the furthest I could find out of 50 examples. So, like, you know, what they've come across. And I think, like, I mean, when people would bring this up, I would bring it back to the Manchester Arena bombing, and people that sort of wanted to pretend this was all some like EDL psyop, you know, that organization that's been gone for 10 years. They would try and make out as if these are all just disconnected situations, and it's like, well, no, because when you run a campaign like Don't Look Back in Anger, you're kicking the can down the road. You're hitting the snooze button, which is what they've attempted to do again. And it's all just, it's not for like, I mean, obviously it's not for our benefit, but it's not for the benefit of like building genuine cohesion on the streets. It's just so shitlibs can feel better. You know, all of this hitting the snooze button, all of the psyops, all of that sort of crap. It's just so they can feel better about their position in the sort of status hierarchy that's being constructed for them. But the more that this happens, and it will happen again, sadly,
of course
the more and more this is going to come apart at the seams.
Yep.
Yeah. And I mean, one of the things that has been, I was going to say, one of the again, that happened during this, of course, there was and I keep on seeing it, like videos of it popping up on YouTube recommended, like from Channel 4 interviews about the library that was burnt. I think, was it in Liverpool or Southport or somewhere in Merseyside?
Or it might have been in Merseyside.
I can't remember, but there was a library that was burnt down. It was run by this like this communist whale, and who, from my understanding, looking into it, promoted that the books in there were basically just, you know, perverted and left-wing drivel. But so the library was targeted, and you know, out of all the criminal damage, and even like, you know, the violence that was, you know, the injury of the officers, that was seen as like the biggest like crime. I remember that one because it was the amount of recovery. Like the library, they're burning books. The journalists saying, "Oh my God, the mob are burning books."
Well, they like that, don't they? Because that's a supposed callback to the Nazis in Germany in the 1930s. What they never tell you about those burned books in Nazi Germany in the 30s is that they were vile crap that was mostly stuff like you should allow men to become women and women to become men and shit like that.
The famous footage they always play over and over again is like directly outside his sexology clinic.
Yeah, I know, and you're not supposed to realize that. You're supposed to think, no, this was the Nazis burning ideas. No, they weren't doing that at all. They were burning vile shit. And of course, in the Weimar period, Germany was, because of the mass like inflation that went absolutely crazy there, and the destruction of the middle class that happened, after 1919, you had relatively respectable German families whose daughters ended up being prostitutes, whose boys even ended up being homosexual prostitutes, and the stuff they were burning was about that. But you're not supposed to say that, of course.
Can I tell you that is happening now here in America? And they are talking, they just released some information this week about how 300,000 kids, little kids, minors, are missing in our country because they came over on the border, and they don't have to come over now. They're letting kids in without having like parents, that have the same name. It just has to be an adult. And then they're kind of using them as mules to like get more people in, and they resend them out and come back in. Anyway, they can't find them. And they're saying that these are very likely have been trafficked, these little children. And it's just disgusting. And our government was complicit because they did nothing to help these kids.
Oh, yeah, but you will recall, I don't doubt, all reality, that when Trump was president, they went on about there were cages with people who crossed the border with kids in them. But you know what? America was registering them and seeing who they were, and weren't letting the little kids just be abducted.
Right. And where the kids were going to go, so they could, keep tabs on them, make sure that they were not used and abused. And so, little boys, little girls, good job.
Well, I mean, we do know from, sort of various whistleblowers and historical investigations that the alphabet agencies have been, actively involved in pushing the drugs trade in America and arms trade. It would not be surprising that child sex trafficking trade is also one of their
load of money in that, mate. Load of money in that, because I mean, look at Bill Clinton. People have been talking about Bill Clinton recently. What's Bill Clinton most famous for, or infamous for, aside from Monica Lewinsky, of course, and a blue dress and giving him a blowjob in the Oval Office? What was he most famous for? How many times he visited Epstein Island? That's what he was most famous for.
He came out of hiding this week for the DNC, and wow, he has gotten old.
Clearly, having all that children's blood injected straight into his veins hasn't kept him on the young side.
Same with Hillary. Same with Hillary, mate. She also doesn't look good.
No.
Oh, I also see there was a stupid fat hobbit at the DNC as well.
Yes.
Stupid fat hobbit.
I know.
Every tweet he makes, I'm just saying, stupid fat hobbit.
Did you also see Obama's wife giving a talk at the DNC? And there was a great thing that I saw on Twitter where they gave her a beard, and it was really good. So
she's a manly looking woman, isn't she?
She's not my idea of cute.
Yeah,
I've got to say.
So this. Well, I guess I should wait until it's my turn to talk about it, but this convention has been so difficult to watch.
The good thing I saw this week was RFK Jr. Going up on stage with Trump and saying, "Yeah, I want Trump to win." That was a good thing, I think.
Yeah, because the independents, anybody that runs as an independent always takes more votes away from the Republicans than they do.
Well, he was the only guy that any American I respected who didn't support Trump did like. And he's now said, yeah, I'm 100% behind Trump. So, yeah.
Yeah, I can't say that I would have been behind him, but...
Some Americans I respected did like him because he is very much against the idea of America getting involved in wars all over the globe.
Yeah.
And, American young lads getting killed for no very good reasons. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, Trump, like before the previous, before he served, when he was running, I remember he campaigned a lot on saying that he wanted to just pull us, get us out of Afghanistan, and just like have take us out of any issues worldwide. Of course, this was before the fucking world is blowing up now, but and he was saying, stop like any immigration from coming in, stop the like flow of all the money that we send out, because we send out so much freaking money to everyone around the world, and yet everyone hates us now, so it's not doing us any good. So like we need somebody that can come in there, a businessman, I think, like Trump.
I think there is some chance, as I do think there is some chance, actually, as Oswald just said in the chat, that he might be offered something in a Trump administration. If Trump wins, he might give this dude a job, and good, because he's got I don't totally agree with him by any means, but he's got
a little
some good ideas.
But he's okay.
But he's got some good ideas, so yeah, maybe.
But rumor has it he approached Kamala's group and asked for, I don't know how true this is, but they were talking about it a lot on mainstream, like Fox and stuff. But they were saying that he had talked to her side for to see if he could get a deal with some kind of a cabinet position, and I guess they said no, so he went to Trump. So I hope that wasn't the case. I hope he just.
Well, I have no idea, or I have no idea. But like some of his stuff is good. Like if I was in the leadership of America, I wouldn't want American boys to be killed because of Ukraine or Israel. I wouldn't, not at all. And so some of his ideas are pretty good.
As we just send out another destroyer, right? Over to.
Israel gets unlimited American support. Doesn't matter how many women and children Israel kills, it just gets unlimited American support. And you have to say that I guarantee you the RAF, based in the Royal Air Force, based in Cyprus, will also help Israel. And Israel kills people who are trying to negotiate a peace deal.
So Andrew, everybody loves Israel. Everyone will always love Israel. So much so that even the Roman general Vespasian loved Israel and the concept of Israel so much, he brought a bit of the temple back to Rome with him.
He did too. But yeah. Oh, look, we all love the nation of Israel. I mean, it's impossible not to love the nation of Israel. Doesn't matter how many women and children they kill, they're great. They're just fabulous. Right? But yeah.
I mean, I'm a Christian. I don't know about the rest of you guys, but and it really kind of doesn't matter. But do you not almost kind of feel like there is really a demonic attack going on in this world right now? Like everything that is common sense, like just this is right, this is wrong, is just flipped, and it would be laughable if it wasn't so horrendous. Well, and it's happening in every aspect of our life. Look at all these social things, the trans thing, like it's crazy, it's everywhere, and it's such a small percentage of like 1% of the population.
I mean, I was going to bring it up earlier, but Mitch brought it up in chat. That was it. Obviously we had another big stabbing a little while earlier in Nottingham, which is quite a nice town actually. And one of the mothers of the victims was on a talk radio show, LBC, and she essentially didn't. They asked her if she like felt sorry or had empathy for the family of the man who stabbed her son to death. And she kind of didn't give them the answer they wanted. And there were when they posted this up on Twitter, the comments were full of these people saying that she should like be imprisoned under something for saying such a thing. And like people were saying, she had to have
Yeah.
a day in court and stuff like that. And it's like, yeah, to be honest,
can't even true victims there. That's an
Yeah.
actual victim.
and
is
it's
not
like,
allowed to-
you know, I'm going to point out that the word empathy is only like 100 years old.
Right.
It's actually a pretty new concept, but sympathy is a bit different. But and you just look at these people and think, you know, I know that there's probably lots of explanations for this, but I just can't see these people as anything other than like just subhuman, just
Right.
Yeah.
monstrous entities in human
They're
skin.
scum.
It's just
They're scum. They're
Yeah.
scum.
Well,
I mean, to
That's the only
answer
way.
your Aubrey, to answer your question,
Yeah.
historically speaking, I mean, I think it's safe to say that, as we all know, that historically speaking, majority of the masses of people in any civilization have always has always adhered to the power that exists at that time.
Mhm.
Very few the radicals, people who exist outside of it, who influence it or maybe even stand against it, have been quite rare in numbers, but yeah, maybe have an impact on history because we remember them through their works or their deeds or what have you. And yeah, there've been plenty of instances where you've had these really, like, as you would say, demonic like these regimes which go against nature, like the actual natural order of things.
Mhm.
You could argue, in one argument, Carthage, for example, with the children and everything, that the Romans
They
perceived.
used to murder guys in the chat. If you don't understand, the Carthaginians, part of their religion was they used to sacrifice babies.
Yeah, even though the
Kind of like
Romans,
the abortion clinics over here. Sorry.
yeah,
a bit like
it's,
that. Yeah, a bit like
it's-
that. A bit like
it's the same
that.
thing, Aubrey.
Yeah.
But the Romans then were obviously, they were, I guess you would say they were pagan. But the thing that was in Rome, the Roman pantheon, I mean, human sacrifice wasn't. I mean, it wasn't a thing. I don't believe in the Roman pantheon. I don't recall
They
any.
did it very, very rarely.
It was
Very
usually
rarely.
limited to Etruscan. Yeah, it was usually limited to like a few Etruscan things. But as time went on, it wasn't common. I mean, animal sacrifice was, but that was just what it was. But
Mhm.
the Romans were so disgusted by the Carthaginians that when they conquered Carthage, I mean, effectively, it was the whole civilization was wiped out. Like any memory of it was just removed. And so you do have.
And AI, just to be clear to people in the chat here, like recent archaeology has basically backed up what the Romans said about the Carthaginians. They did used to sacrifice little babies.
Yeah, so you do have like these sort of balancing acts. I mean, again, recent archaeological evidence in central Mexico has proven that there was that they found like this like mountain of skulls, which correlates with what the Spanish accounts from Cortez's campaigns has said. Yeah, that there was these mountains of bodies from the Aztecs human sacrifice. Yeah, and so
British soldiers, AI, who were in West Africa, who fought against the Ashanti Empire, when they got to the capital, there were skulls everywhere of all the people they had murdered.
Yeah,
who were
and also
prisoners.
Yeah, and also with was it Napier who banned the bride burnings in India? That's another example.
Oh, God.
In India, Aubrey Alley, in India, it was a common thing that if you were the wife of a Raja, like an Indian Raja, and you were his Indian wife, and he died, they would throw you alive on his funeral pyre. They would throw you alive on his funeral pyre, and that included if you were one of his concubines. So you'd get like 20 or 30 women chucked onto it, and the British stopped that because Britain is such a bad country.
Was a poem, that I can't remember what it was, that my one of my lit teachers, actually, who was from England, from London, that he talked about, and it was about this Yeah, this woman being thrown on a rock and like left there to die.
Yeah, no, they didn't do that, baby. They chucked you on the funeral pyre, so you burn to death at the same time.
But of course,
And the
they
Brits
would
did
actually
this.
light them on fire. Okay, this thing.
Yeah, they used to chuck
there's,
them
like,
onto the funeral pyre, so they died. Many of them screaming, of course.
Oh, of course, because it was so.
Yeah.
This like the sin was that she lost her husband.
You couldn't survive your husband. You know, you had to die
Yeah.
at the same
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, your husband gets reincarnated, you get reincarnated. Basically, that's basic. That was the belief behind it.
There wasn't a gentler method that they could come up with.
No, there
Well,
was
no.
not. That was
I
what
mean,
they
There is
did.
cleansing.
Until the British came along, that was what they did.
well, yeah, but hang on, let's
The
also put a
British
little bit of
eventually
nuance in here,
banned
though.
it because
Um,
we're quite good guys.
We did ban it, but of course the problem is that unlike what they like to paint about the British Empire, that there was literally like a red coat on every street corner, killing random Indians that looked at them funny. There were large parts of India that we couldn't really police all that effectively, and we still kind of allowed them to keep it as a custom for a while. Even in Around the World in 80 Days, I think there's a part where he goes into, I forget the region that it is, where this was still actually practiced, and the British just kind of had to let it be because it was too far north for them to effectively come down on it.
Yeah. There were. I mean, that's kind of like the storyline from that Indiana Jones. What was it? The Temple of Doom. There was that was basically which I actually think is one of the best Indiana Jones films, going in some funny way, because it shows the white heroic Western man crush the Indians. But that being that on the side note, yeah, I mean, yes, I think Richard Hilton, Iron Duke, actually talks about, the that you did have the practices go on, but it was because of the way that they got the Rajas and Maharajas became quite institutionalized with Britain and British, I guess you could say, not civil servants, but like officials out there, that it did become that it naturally just fell away. I mean, because it was only confined to the Hindu population. Of course, the Muslims and the Sikhs and so on didn't. And also
there's a pretty good movie you guys can check out, and people in the chat can check out, called The Deceivers. And it's written by a bloke who was a British Indian Army officer. Like, he was Chinde, who the guys who went behind Japanese lines in World War II. And, they were mostly British and Gurkha soldiers. And they went behind Japanese lines in World War II and caused the Japanese all sorts of shit in Burma. But the bloke joined the British Army in the 1930s, and his biography is called Bugles in the Tiger. So, and it's good. Go read it.
The films, that's the one with Pierce Brosnan, isn't it?
Yeah, The Deceivers, the film is with Pierce Brosnan, so girls will like it because they like Pierce Brosnan. But yeah, it's basically the story of how this one British officer basically made the Honourable East India Company realize that there was this thuggy cult that was killing travellers on Indian roads, and they were Indian travellers, not British ones. And the Brits stopped it because we were so bloody evil. Yeah, we were, right.
Mm-hmm.
What was it they worshipped? It was Kali.
It was Kali, who was
yeah.
an Indian goddess of death. Yeah,
death and mayhem and destruction, sort of thing. Yeah.
But yeah, the British stopped that. We also stopped sati, which is what we were talking about earlier, which is the throwing of Indian brides onto the funeral pyres of.
Yeah, sucks. I would have.
Yeah, exactly. And the Brits were evil, because we stopped those things.
I know you should have let that continue.
Awful people we were.
I knew I have heard leftists when this being discussed online, they like to bring out the old burning of heretics and witches and heretics.
What's that got to do with anything? These were just wives
white
and
men that did it.
they were wives and
That's what they're saying.
of these people who they were just burning alive. Right? Well, what's that got to do with anything to do with witchcraft?
Yeah, and also they were found guilty and they were burnt for base reasons because they were consorting with devils and other people in Europe as well.
I'm not going to get into that. I'm not going to get into that at this stage. But basically, the British ending Sati and the Thuggy cult in India were two things the British did for the Indians that were entirely in favor of the Indians, actually.
Which we probably shouldn't have done, to be fair. Like, I mean, it was kind of based that we sort of just said, none of that.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
But,
it was us being too nice. We were being too nice.
As a woman, I would much rather have you guys take my life in your hands rather than, one of those countries or the Middle East, any country in the Middle East.
Yeah, funnily enough, you're probably right about that.
You evil white men.
Yeah, evil white men. Yeah.
They also bang on about stuff like the Bengal famine. It probably didn't happen, but also they deserved it, and it should probably happen again. Like 20 times over.
The Bengal famine was adamant. The Bengal famine, which is one of my things that I'm happy always to debate a leftist about, happened because of German U-boats and the Japanese Navy. The Britain just did not have enough merchant ships in 1942 to move food to where it was needed in Bengal. And that was down to German U-boats and the Japanese Navy. I'm sorry.
I think there's a YouTuber.
You guys know I am no big fan of Winston Churchill.
Yeah, like he gets quite a bad rap. It's like the one time where I kind of like feel like he's unfairly sullied. That and the Iraqi thing, but because like he's like they point out that he's got some like kind of slightly bigoted opinions about the Indians, which he's right about. And it's like right, but despite all that, like he did at least like try to. The thing is that I think there's a guy, Settlers Lament, a YouTuber, does a pretty good video on this. And he kind of goes over like how it's a kind of perfect storm of there was a red mite disease that year, and there was also like a bunch of other events that sort of coalesced and caused a bit of an issue. But like ultimately, like they couldn't feed themselves. How's that our problem? The idea that like the British Empire then had the sort of same infrastructure and tech that today would make famine almost impossible. Like, it's kind of absurd.
Yeah, it's not. It really is not.
Yeah, History Debunked. He did a video about a year ago, or was Winston Churchill to blame for the 43 Bengal famine, and basically the numbers have been heavily inflated, like the death. I mean, they said it was like 20. One Indian said it was 23 million. I got
6
one
million
figure
gets thrown around a lot. Funny that one.
6 million is always very common now, man.
That's the
everyone knows about 6 million, don't they?
The trouble is the warehouses containing all the food only had wooden doors on them, so it was
Yeah, exactly true. Exactly, there were wooden doors with gaps. But,
all the rats went in. Oh no, I won't make that analogy. Okay, let's move on.
It's funny though how like the evil white men, everybody looks to them for help around the world, right? I mean,
it's funny.
Are there any other like ethnicities that are out there helping people like around the world? I really No, I can't say that there are. And it
Oh,
makes
come
me
on.
think of,
Come on. No, no,
I am being
no.
unfair. I'm
Aubriality,
being
you
so
are
horrible,
not right.
bigoted.
Look at how many places Africa helps
Yes. Oh,
and
I know.
Pakistan helps. They
Yep.
help so many
They
places.
leave the
across
continent
world.
quite often. But you know what? It's very much like my cousin is a police officer here in the U.S. and he is currently in Chicago because they call in all these cops from all over the state and wherever else to come in for this Democrat convention. And yet these are the people who are saying that they're evil, that they need to defund the police. And I just find it so ironic. And the two are just kind of relevant in my mind. They kind of relate to one another. A good analogy, you know?
Yeah. On that note, though, I do need to pop off because I've got a very early morning tomorrow.
Thanks for joining us, Armin. You're always most welcome, mate.
Yeah, no worries. Have a good rest of the stream, everyone, and good night, chat, and talk to everyone soon.
Good night.
Good night.
Can I just say that Davy 1602 here, 5 times more British soldiers were killed at Gallipoli than Aussies. Does anyone realise that? I don't know if they do. Probably not.
Andrew, just explain to me briefly why Gallipoli? What was the plan to take Istanbul? I should say. What was that the plan to take Istanbul?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was. That was the plan. And Winston Churchill, who was one of the most clueless blokes in the whole wide world in terms of anything naval or military. Like Winston Churchill, don't get me wrong, he was a brave guy. He was. He charged at the Battle of Omdurman in front of his 40 cavalry troopers. But, 40 men was the most men he ever commanded. I actually have commanded more than twice as many men in an actual battle than Churchill did. But despite that, he was not cowardly. I never would say Churchill was cowardly. But, 5 times as many British guys were killed at Gallipoli as Australians and New Zealanders.
I mean, the only thing that I can connect Gallipoli for anything apart from even its location to Constantinople, again, it's not like, why invade there? The only thing I did find interesting was when Alexander launched his invasion of the Achaemenid Empire under Cyrus, the Achaemenid Empire, the Persians. The launching point was, I believe, around Gallipoli area. So that's why I wondered, was it like more symbolic, the location?
No, the idea was you take Constantinople and then you can supply Russia. That was the idea.
But I'm just why, if you want to take Constantinople, why didn't you just go via Greece?
Because you have to get your naval forces to do that. You can't do it by land invasion. It wasn't going to work.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just like, because even when the Ottomans captured Constantinople, I mean, before they even captured it, they crossed the Dardanelles and like conquered large parts of the Balkans and everything, and because the problem is it was the walls of Theodosian was what kept them out, and they needed those huge cannons to bring down the walls.
Even go back to Thermopylae and the Spartans, the 300 Spartans and all that kind of stuff. You absolutely have to control the straits, as people are saying in the chat. But it was fucked up, and Churchill never had a real good clue. But the other thing you have to remember about that is like the mainspring of the enemy in the First World War was Germany. It wasn't Turkey. So if you knock Turkey out of the war, is that going to knock Germany out of the war? No, it's not. It was nonsense.
I mean, also that's a good point, because the Ottoman. I mean, they talk about the Ottoman Empire, and I think a lot of people's mind, when you talk about the Ottoman Empire, they think of the Ottoman Empire, say in the 1500s at its peak or what have you, or the 1600s in its peak. But in 1914, the Ottoman Empire only included modern day Turkey, Iraq, or Mesopotamia, it was Syria, and
Loads of the Middle East.
loads of Middle East. I think all the way down into modern day
Yep.
parts of Saudi. But Egypt, I mean, Cyprus, Crete, all their sort of European, non-Muslim possessions were all gone. I think the only one was Armenia, of course,
Yeah,
but
they
we
were
know what happened.
mostly. Oh, yeah, of course. And we have the Armenian genocide, which we're never supposed to talk about. But
Yeah, Mitch is right there, because we promised do you know what? Out of all the things that happened, it is sad that in World War One that we didn't take Constantinople and give it to like the Greeks or the Russians or something.
I have nothing to say about that, mate. I really don't. Maybe. But yeah, look, we have gone sideways a long way.
Oh yeah, way off.
Yeah, and we've lost Alman. So, AI, did you have a first subject for this week?
Well, I was going to say, they got the. I imagine. Are you going to cover the story about Don at all?
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about that. I am. Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll save that. Yeah. I mean, I say first story. It's a difficult one, because I can't really think of anything that's I mean, the only thing I can say is like, for me, I've joined Reform. I'm going to get active on the ground,
Good.
Good.
local where I am. I think the national polling is out, and there is like this total rejection of the two main parties, but also the satellite parties that are linked to the
I
establishment.
really think many British people have now had enough, not only of Labour and the so-called Conservatives, but also the Lib Dems and the Greens. I think many British people have had enough of all of those uni-party people. I really do.
And I mean, the reason I joined locally is that the daft thing is the party where I am, the party came joint third. I mean, what happened was the vote was split three ways, so you had like 30%, 30%, 30%, basically, if you were to round it up. And so there is a good chance that they could, I mean, do incredibly well, if they had the right, the right, I guess you could say, like, the right local leadership and everything. And so that's what I hope can happen. Again, I think what's great about this is the public support is there, but unlike the problem was when I was in the Conservative Party all those years ago, many years ago, you had established, I mean, not being rude about it, Andrew, but you had established old guard of out of touch and delusional members who are easily hoodwinked into agreeing the most vile left-wing policies.
100%, mate. 100%.
And that's not just where I am. I imagine that's across the country. And then the ones that do speak out against it are then used as pariah, because the leaders in the local party structure are one nation, far left psychopaths who hate this country. With Reform, you don't have that entrenched anti-British force.
Totally agree.
And now, listen, I'm not saying that there isn't there isn't like elements in Reform which are, I think in Reform, I think within all movements there are good and bad elements, and I do think that within Reform there probably are some bad elements which we'll need to watch out in the future. But as things stand,
for sure.
things that stand at the moment, There isn't much that we don't have that, and I think I'm in there. From my understanding, it's like me and 10 other people who are all relatively new as well.
Yeah,
So
go for it.
Yeah.
I wish you every power.
Yeah.
But yeah, go for it.
And
Aubrey Ali, did you have a subject you wanted to bring up this evening?
Well, I kind of touched on it a little bit already, but just again over here with the Democratic National Convention, it's been so unbelievably difficult to watch and listen because these people are just clowns. I mean, they are ridiculous, just ridiculous, and all they keep doing. I mean, it's just Trump. But I can't remember how many times they said Trump's name. The other day,
I do really think
Oprah.
Kamala Harris will
Yeah.
take one in the face for America.
Yeah,
It won't be a bullet. It won't be a bullet.
Dirty man. That's a horrible comment. But yes, I can't argue that. But yeah, it's just amazing. And all these people just praising her, and like there's nothing they can praise her about. She hasn't even given a single plan whatsoever, other than that she's going to push for taxing on tips, which was what Trump said. Actually,
well, she stole that from Trump. Yeah,
of course she did.
Baby, when is the next debate with Trump?
I know it's sometime this month. Well, she said she's only going to do. I think she said 2. Typically they do 3.
If she doesn't get destroyed by Trump, I'll be amazed.
The problem though is that, I mean, she is an attorney, so I'm a little bit concerned about it, because when she goes off of, she'll have her little memorized answers. What we need is her in front of the camera without a teleprompter. That's what we need.
Oh yeah,
because that's when we see her true magic shine.
I've looked. I was going to say, I've looked for footage. I can't actually find any footage of her debating. I found the obnoxious preaching that she does, like she's like some sort of Southern black civil rights leader from the 60s, like AOC did. Which one thing I listened to that clip of AOC, and Iron Duke, I don't know if it's just me, but she breaks into. I know she does like various different accents, but she does like an Al Capone voice. Al Pacino voice from like.
I heard that. Yeah.
Yeah, there's like she did like an Al Pacino voice.
God, and then she goes like and starts like ghetto dancing. AOC does, and it's just like all over the stage. These people are just ridiculous. It's so embarrassing as a American to see this.
Aubrey, I've also seen before coming on here any moments that there was some sort of podcast event at the DNC where you had, I don't know who these guys were, they were all like white guys and in suits, and you had Gavin Newsom with them, and they were sort of like, Gavin Newsom said he basically was joking, where he was making fun of Kamala Harris and the entire process of the DNC nomination, saying, joking about how like fair and open it was, which I thought is amazing, given that's going to be a Republican tagline. And I think what's been said is that effectively the heavy hitters of the Democrat Party are basically they'll do like the speeches and show public support, but in reality they're sort of they're sort of sitting this one out spiritually, at least. They're not going to put all their, I mean, especially Gavin. I mean, I think he kind of, I mean, he's sort of the future, isn't he?
Oh God, I hope
for the Democrat Party.
But see,
Gavin Newsom.
Yeah, I think that he's probably upset that he wasn't the one that was pushed forward. I mean, he actually has. He's crazy, but he. I think he felt like he was much more legitimate than. I mean, all of them are more so than Kamala. She's not accomplished anything.
Well, you've got to be fair though. Aubrey Ali, you've got to be fair.
Yes.
Like like Miss Blowjob's vice president is a veteran. He's told us all he's a veteran. He served in Italy.
Oh, he did, right? Yes.
Yeah, he served in Italy
Not in a
because
support role.
Italians were trying to kill Americans in
Right. Yep.
2003.
He carried a weapon.
Yeah. I don't think it was loaded, but
No.
whatever.
And then
I
he
mean,
bailed as soon as he knew that his unit was going over to Iraq. He bailed.
Yeah, he left.
Or was it
Exactly.
Iraq or Afghanistan? I can't remember.
No, he was a National Guard dude,
Yeah.
and as soon as they were being sent overseas to an actual war zone, he bailed.
Like within days. And
Yeah,
I've heard a few
gone.
interviews with guys that served under him, and they said he was our leader, and all of a sudden he was gone. And what does that like make us feel like? What does that
Yep,
do to?
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly right.
Yep.
Exactly right.
And then there's a colonel, I think, or a captain. I can't remember. Anyway, I heard him interviewed, and he said that that this guy, he did not he lied about his title, right? That he
Yep.
never was given that title, and he never actually did any of the God, I can't talk all of a sudden. He never did any of the work that was required for that type of a title, but he's going around on all these talk shows and circuits saying that, yeah, stolen valor. Hello.
Well, look, I'm not sure if it's officially stolen valor, because that's a specific thing. But he was certainly lying, because he said, "Oh, I served in, Operation whatever the fuck it was called," and he was in Italy. Most Italians were not trying to kill Americans in 2003.
But that's the thing, that's what this guy was saying, was that he has claimed that he was a master staff sergeant, right? And he did none of the requirements that have to be fulfilled for that, under that position. He did nothing. He never was given that title, and yet even in his books and all these other interviews, I mean, you listen to it and he is alluding to this on purpose. I mean, I don't know. You were in the military. It's just kind of disgusting, kind of repulsive.
It's bullshit. It's like Steve was saying in the chat here.
Right.
When you're in the military, you know when you're going to.
Oh, yeah. I mean, my ex knew a year before, because they know the rotation that the guys are going to go in.
Absolutely.
The unit's going to go. And so,
and for anyone who doesn't know, Aubrey's ex was a US paratrooper dude who did serve in Afghanistan. So, but yeah, absolutely. You know when you're going to be sent somewhere. And this guy is a con artist, because he says he was involved in the operations around Afghanistan and Iraq, and the most dangerous place he went was Italy, where most of us would go for a holiday. So yeah,
I reckon West Germany was more of a danger than Italy, to be honest.
Probably, yeah. I mean, I don't know about you, mate, but I like going to Italy for holidays, because I like going and looking at the ancient Roman stuff. And the Italians are not very dangerous. They're mostly very nice people.
I mean, let's be honest. Italy hasn't been a complete threat, and a battleground probably since the 6th century during Belisarius's reconquest.
Well, certainly not since 1943, anyway. Italy.
Well, more recent.
Pretty safe.
Recent time, but probably more recent time. Yeah, I mean, the VP. What's his name? Waltz.
That's the bloke we're talking about.
Yeah, that's the bloke we're talking about. That's the bloke we're talking about. He does come across, and he does come across as a bit fruity. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh, I know. When he comes out on stage, have you seen him? Oh, he's crazy. Yeah, and you know, the other thing I wanted to bring up too is they're pushing, like in Michigan, and I think in his state as well, they are pushing to let these prisoners who are in there for, you know, rape, murder. They're trying to get them out of prison, and it's just like the most bizarre things that you could imagine are
They're
happening.
doing that
I
in
just sit here and
Britain.
I'm thinking, how is this
All
happening?
reality, they're doing that in Britain in order to make space for
Mhm.
18-year-old blokes who were arrested for waving a Union Jack in front of the British cops. They are letting rapists, murderers, and killers out of British jails.
This is where I start getting weirded out, thinking like, is this an end times like revelations fulfillment here? Because it is just, it doesn't make sense. These things that are happening are so ridiculous. You don't let prisoners out that have committed, you know, these terrible crimes so that you can put young, kids in, or little old ladies on their scooters,
Two-tier Starmer does.
or somebody that
Trust me.
toots a little trumpet, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yep.
what the
You can go to jail, but we will empty the jails of rapists and, you know, immigrant rapists and anyone else you care to name, all be emptied. So that if you wave a Union Jack in front of British cops, which will obviously make them mad because, you know, British cops hate Union Jacks. Yeah, we'll empty our jails so that we can find space for you. That's what two-tier Starmer does in the UK. That's exactly what
So
two-tier
AI,
Starmer does.
maybe you have an opinion about, because Duke and I were talking about this before. Like, what do you think is the actual end game for all of this? I mean, I know like the Democrats are bringing all these illegal immigrants in because they want their votes, right? But like they're demolishing our society and our structure, and like on a massive level. What do you think the end game is here? What are they trying to achieve?
AI, what's your opinion, mate?
Well, I think depending on which element of the elite you ask, I think some of them, I think like a George and Alex Soros figure who are like whose names, who are usually the public face of importing into Europe at least, maybe even America. I'm not too sure, but
America too.
yeah, America as well, the public face of this. I mean, I think there is reasons. I think there are ethnic revenge reasons for that. There is ideological reasons. There are you have the the gig men, the sort of economic gig men, managerial, who do it purely for financial GDP reasons. Overall, though, I think that because we live in the managerial state, the reason why they're doing this is they think that if they just create enough chaos into this, it will and then they create like an out. People will want to go for order and stability, and they'll go for them. And this is where the danger comes in, because and you can't treat if you're governing, if you're part of this governing class, you can't treat society as like a new game on like like Hearts of Iron or something. And I know you like to compare and everything, but the trouble is, in reality, you can't sort of treat it as that, because I mean, if you look at parts of Germany today, if you look at France and Britain, it's not just within the. I mean, you got the foreign community who what they do is they create states within states, like their own ghettos, and you'll see this in particularly like with the Muslim areas emerging in parts of America and other foreign enclaves. You'll see this self-isolation and state within states where they don't even represent any values of that you would expect an American to have, because they don't have a connection with the creation of the country.
Right.
I mean, you could argue, well, Black Americans have been present since the 13 colonies. Hispanics have been present since Spanish Empire. So you could say, well, there is like, I know it's a bit of a weaker argument, but you could say, well, they're all connected in that sense. But and that's what some conservatives arguments made in the past, for some moral unity. But like in our countries, for example, you don't that sort of propositional argument doesn't stand up to reality, and towns and villages and cities are now all affected, and there's been this notable massive decline, also among the people, and that the public at large, the British public, have become more. I was going to say, the people have become more withdrawn from the system. People have become more. I've seen a real upsurge in breakdown in behavior in society. That people are more prone to violent action, and I'm not talking about like the foreign-born people, but people who are white Brits, I've noticed, are more prone to frustrated. And I
you
imagine
have
it's
to
probably the
fight
same
back.
with
AI, you have to fight back. You can't just take it.
I'm just saying, like, in general, like, I've this week, Iron Duke, in my workplace, so I won't go into details, but basically there was somebody who used the race card to to accuse another person of treating them differently, and it nearly resulted into a brawl. And it was like, things like that several years ago wouldn't have taken place, or if they used a race card, they would have sort of backed down. So it does feel that there is like this ratcheting up, and people were saying, like, with Starmer putting the woke away, the idea was they were meant to put all that frustration and anger away or channel it somewhere else, but instead he's like just poured petrol onto the fire. I mean, it's and the Democrats are pouring petrol onto the fire. I think there are. I agree with AA's assessment. I think there are Democrats, people like Newsom, who are who want. I think they want Trump to win. I think there are people in the Democrat Party that want Trump to win, and they want. I mean, there is a hope, and this might just be pure copium, that if the Democrats get an absolute thrashing at this year's elections, not just in the presidential, but on the congressional, senatorial, all federal and local elections, that this may prompt elements in the Democrat Party who are more quote unquote moderate to basically sideline the AOC and the cackling loonies
I actually don't agree
Party.
with that, AI, but all right. I mean, it's your opinion, but
I don't agree. I'm just stating that's one idea that's been put out there. I don't agree with it, because I actually don't think the people like Newsom could. I don't think they haven't got this. They haven't got the same control. The moderates haven't got the same control of the Democrat Party.
Newsom's not moderate though. Look at the state of California. If you think Newsom's a moderate, look at California, for fuck's sake.
But you know what? He is more so than Kamala and her running mate.
Oh, sure, but that ain't very hard, is it?
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
No. It was funny, having like Bill Clinton up there. What he represented, and how he governed, I guess, is so far from this party has just moved to such an extreme. And
but all right, but let's hang on.
Aubrey
Alley, let's go back to when Bill Clinton was president. Right?
Okay.
Now, Bill Clinton was infamous for Monica Lewinsky giving him a blowjob.
Yep.
And getting his cum all over a blue dress, all right?
Never look at cigars the same.
Yeah. But what he should be infamous for was his scores of visits to Epstein Island. And of course, Epstein
We
killed
just
himself
didn't know
in
about
jail
it
somehow, impossibly, but he did. you know,
Yeah.
which most people forgot about that because, you know, it was a one-day news story and then it was forgotten, rather than, you know, Trump and Russiagate and
Right.
all, because the mainstream media tells you what the mainstream media wants to know. And the fact that there was no possible way that Epstein killed himself,
Of course.
they didn't want you to know that. But Bill Clinton went to Epstein Island, like, I don't know, 40 times or something like that.
Yeah. And it's so
That's
funny,
what
like
people
the
should
Me Too
remember
movement.
about Bill Clinton.
Right. And all these like lefties that were all about the Me Too movement, which makes me like, ew, so like sick as a female that the feminist Me Too, all of it. And yet then they're out there like just going crazy, screaming and clapping for Bill Clinton. And I'm just like, God, the hypocrisy is unreal. It's unreal.
One thing, Aubrey, that I've noticed with, especially in American politics, is, and you know, people we talk about like double think and Orwell and all that sort of stuff, but I've noticed that the American public, or a large percentage of American public, and maybe same for Republicans and Democrats, are very, very easily swayed to, well, to basically lie to themselves and also engage in aspects of doublethink, which I think other audiences in other countries and maybe even previous American generations, it would be impossible to do, because they would say, well, hold on a sec, this doesn't make sense. This is mental, you know?
Yep. Like my grandfather, World War II vet, he and I used to watch, like, you know, O'Reilly, Hannity, all those shows together every night. And we would talk about politics. And like he would not even believe what is happening right now. And he would say, like, common sense, where the hell is it gone? You know, but yeah, they would question it. I mean, he would say, wait, I can't say this, I can't say that, I can't use this pronoun, that's ridiculous, right? And now, just like you said, they've got all these, I think it really goes up to the elites, the academics, right? The academic elites that are just putting this guilt on, I think you're absolutely right. It's this racial guilt that we have to suddenly pay for the sins of our forefathers. Because, you know, of course, all of us white people, we had slaves here.
We were evil, baby.
All
we
of
were
us.
all evil. The
Right.
British Empire didn't end the slave trade. The
Nope.
Americans didn't fight a war that killed more Americans than any other war in history to end it. No, we all just did it.
And, you know, they started the DNC by apologizing about, they had Indians come, Native Americans, right, come on stage. You know, I guess, I mean, they are the Fighting Illini state, right? So, yeah, they had these Indians come on, and they were right off the bat talking about guilt, about how we stole their land. So now let's celebrate.
And they never ever scalped a single white woman.
No.
They never scalped a white woman or a white child, babes. Never once.
Hasn't all land been stolen throughout the years from one group or another? Yep. I mean, why is it that you guys are the evil ones? No one else.
Kinda, baby.
I know.
Kinda, baby.
All
land was eventually militarily taken over. It just was. But
I just want to move to an island of animals and say, fuck all of these people.
Yeah, me too. But half a dozen dogs, I'd be very happy, because dogs are good. But yeah, me too. Anything else you wanted? AI? Anything you wanted to plug, mate?
Just my channel, the series I'm doing, looking at the mysterious death of the British Empire.
You need to invite me back on that series, mate.
I might actually, Iron Duke, I might. I'll ask Connor, because I know Connor's been quite busy recently. We've been trying to find days. I might just ask him for this upcoming chapter. I might this coming week I'll ask you to appear, because
very happy, mate. Very happy. That's a subject I like. It's a good one, and it's a good series. Go and check it out on AI's channel, people.
Mm-hmm. A lot of
So
good
yeah, what's
here.
your channel on YouTube called? AI?
It's just AI Shiatori.
Good, there you go. And don't mistake AI for like a Tory boy. He's not at all. So yeah, go and check him out.
I found out that there is an account on Twitter who uses my profile or one of my old profile pics. Who is like some it was the one that Cringe Walker made for me. Like it was like a White Boy Summer one from a few years ago. And he's some like anime posting retard or so. I'll try to use that term, but it's some absolute disgusting freak of nature. So that's not me. If you see it,
Fair enough.
So,
Fair enough.
were you going to
No,
talk?
AI has an excellent YouTube channel. Go and check out AI Shiatori. It's a good channel. I've been on his channel quite a few times.
Mm-hmm.
Good channel. Anything you wanted to plug? Or reality?
No. But were you going to talk about Don though too? Real quick?
Oh yeah, I was. Before we finish, I do need to talk about this. Thank you for reminding me. Or reality. Don the Pleb, right? He's an online friend of mine, and he's a ex-U.S. Marine Corps non-commissioned officer. He's an ex-U.S. Marine Corps NCO. He's a really good bloke. He fell out with academic agent because a third-party twat on his Discord didn't understand what someone was saying. All right. As far as I can work out, like this person thought that someone in Don's Discord was having a go at Mrs. AA, which, like, if you know anything about Don the Pleb, would never happen. Like, Don the Pleb is the biggest gentleman you will ever find in the world, and he would never, ever have had a go at Mrs. AA. It was a misunderstanding due to initials, basically. But, I've had people, even last week, tell me, no, Don the Pleb's an arsehole. No, he isn't, all right? Someone in his Discord said something about an AA person and a third party who lives in Holland, I do believe, in the Netherlands, told AI, someone, Jay Greenwither, thank you, Bolero. That's the person who told AA that someone in Don's Discord was having a go at his wife. Now, if you'd ever spoken to Don and his lovely wife, you would understand that no one who Don had anything to do with would ever have had a go at Mrs. AA. That, particularly because she's not involved in our sphere at all. She doesn't talk. It was absolute nonsense. It was a lie. And this bloke has never gone back on it because it would make him look an idiot, which I think he is. This Jay Greenwither, be quiet, please. This Jay Greenwither person is an idiot, all right? But Don is a really good guy. And Don got raided by the feds last week because he happened to be in Washington, D.C. on January the 6th, 2020, along with, by the way, Charlemagne and I think also, I can't remember what their name is now, another person there, but certainly Charlemagne, who's a leading figure in the Old Glory Club, And I am very much hoping.
Yes, the eunuch.
Yeah, thank you, AI. Yeah, he was there with Charlemagne and Yiz the eunuch, and was basically looking after them and making sure they stayed well away from any like violence or anything nasty. Don was doing nothing bad, but he was raided by the FBI a week ago, and yeah, now he needs a good lawyer, and I'm hearing good things from some people in the Old Glory Club in America that they're trying to help him. He's got a kind of GoFundMe thing going, but it's on like a Christian channel because Don is a Christian. Don and his wife are Christians. But yeah, please go help Don the pleb. And I sent a super chat to Academic Agent on his last unpopular opinion stream, pointing out what was happening. And yeah, I'll try and do that, Davey. Hang on, I've got to go and
Didn't they
find
kick in his door? Like they did.
Yeah, they did, baby. They were not very nice.
No.
It was an unannounced thing, and Don said he was lucky that he didn't get shot and none of his dogs got shot.
Yeah.
So yeah, absolutely true. But yeah, Don is a good guy. Please go and support him. And like I said, he's a ex-US Marine Corps veteran who did go and fight in Afghanistan. He actually went and walked the walk. But yeah, I would very much like people to go support Don, and I'm trying to find the link where you can support him. Hang on. You got to understand, people, my computer is a potato. Okay. So when I find this, I will put it up in the chat.
Yeah, he seems like a really good guy.
Hey, he was Aubrey Alley. Don was a U.S. Marine Corps NCO, which is like that's the backbone of any military force.
Absolutely.
So without NCOs, you don't go anywhere, mate, and you don't win anything either. So, 100%.
We lost a lot of Marines too.
Yeah, and
a lot of.
And I've got friends who are U.S. Marine Corps guys, including Don. So, 100%. There you go. I found it. Wait a minute, guys. I'm gonna give you a link.
His mugshot. That he was smiling in it. That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm gonna give you a link eventually. Who knows? Jesus Christ!
I remember watching the day on Jan 6 on his. I was watching the whole thing on his stream, and it was I remember watching events unfold, and as I said on my reaction to what happened, what's incredible is he didn't do a single thing like violence or anything. He was just straight up just filming and commenting.
He was just
reporting.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he was just reporting and trying to keep Charlemagne and Liz the eunuch out of trouble. 100%.
Yeah, and if I remember correctly, when like the shit really hit the fan and people started storming the building, I remember him saying to the person he was with at the time, who I'm not going to mention because I don't want to get I don't want to draw attention, but the person he was with at the time, he said along the lines of, "We need to get out of here, or we're going to go now because it's like, Yeah,
Yep.
even I think it became obvious at the time by many people who were there, you know, what was happening, and that this was basically, you know, everyone's going to be a patsy to all this.
Yeah. But I just don't
100%.
understand how
Don
it
did
even
nothing.
cares.
Don did nothing wrong. Never, no violence, nothing. He was just reporting. Yeah, absolute nonsense. The FBI raided him. Absolute nonsense. But you will find in the chat, I've put a link in there, guys. Go and support Don, because he needs a good lawyer. And I have heard good things from people like, I've heard good things from people who were involved in the Old Glory Club, which is a good American organization, who are trying to support Don. So good, you know. But yeah, please go and donate to Don. Like I said, didn't do anything wrong. He spent most of his time trying to protect Charlemagne. And I'm sure Charlemagne will be suitably grateful.
And that's why we Americans have got to go out there on the right. We've got to go out there and vote, because we vote for these prosecutors. We put them in office.
True,
you know?
True. All right, guys. Any final thoughts, AI?
No, I mean, I was going to say, when it comes to just people in chat, and you know, I know Mitch and others, we're looking at the for us upcoming, it's the local elections. I mean, Labour are incredibly unpopular. Tories are just, you know, they're just milling around, going in circles, but just be a bunch of retards like they usually are. This is a good time, if there's any, to get involved in your local community, to to go into reform, because there isn't that infrastructure yet, and be part of it, be part of it, be at the center of it in your local community, because at the end of the day, this, on the aesthetics level of like where I live, on the local community, you can actually have a say in, and to be absolutely honest, any old idiot can be a councillor. It's not a skill or great quality to become one. Anyone can do it. Literally anyone can do it.
Always remember, Nigel Farage has said mass immigration must end now. So long as he sticks to that, he will get my 100% support. So long as he sticks to it.
Yeah.
Absolutely right. All right. Thank you very much to my guests, Adaman, AI, or reality. And we didn't get Mitch this week because Mitch is on holiday. But he was in the chat, I'm happy to say. Go well, guys, and we will see you next week. In the meantime, don't let the bastards grind you down.